Hello friends, welcome to the Azure DevOps tutorial series. In this tutorial, we will see what is the pipeline in Azure DevOps. So this is a very important topic for the Azure DevOps. So basically what happened in the pipeline is like a full process of the Azure DevOps, like how it works, pushing or commit the changes into the branches and then merging the branches and the main branch, merge that main branch into the deployment, and from the deployment the code goes to the production. So all those things happen using the pipeline. So it's basically a process. So let's understand what is the pipeline and how it is useful for Azure DevOps. So Azure Pipeline is a cloud service that you can use to automatically build and test your code project and make it available to the other users. So what is the meaning of this? We can, this pipeline, we can make it fully automated, in the sense the user who push the changes into the branches, then what we can do, we can make everything automatically. Once the branch is committed to the main branch, then from that main branch what we can do automatically, we can test that branch. If there is any compilation error or any error, then that particular user will be notified that because of your changes the issue is coming, so that we can automate. And after, if all the changes is fine, then we can automatically design this pipeline. After this it goes for the deployment or build the testes, so it will be available to the user. So that build or deployment, we can make it as a automate, or manually also user can do that. And another thing, Azure Pipeline combines continuous integration and continuous delivery to constantly and consistently test and build your code and ship it to the any target. So that we have talked a few seconds ago, it's a continuous integration and continuous delivery process. Basically, any user just commit the changes into the branch, all the branches is merged with the main branch, then continuously all the testing happen, and then changes go to into the delivery and go to the specific target. So everything is happen continuously as per the requirement, and it is used to deploy the code into the production, and it can be triggered automatically and manually. So that is the thing about the pipeline. Now the next question comes, what do I need to use Azure Pipeline? So basically, to use Azure Pipeline, what we need, for an organization in Azure DevOps, to have source code stored in a version control system, in that kind of scenario we need Azure Pipeline. So we have already talked about what is the version control system in Azure DevOps. So already we have talked about all these things. So I recommend you please watch previous tutorials, so you will understand the version control. And in the Azure DevOps, we have Git and TFVC are the version control which we have in Azure DevOps. And what all are the languages we can use for the pipeline? So we can use many languages with Azure Pipeline, such as Python, Java, JavaScript, C#, C++, and so many we can use. And for the version control system, as I told, we can use GitHub Enterprises, Azure Repository Git, TFVC. So these are the so many version control system we can use. So that is useful for the continuous integration and continuous delivery for our application. And the next is deployment target. So to use Azure Pipeline to deploy your code to the multiple target, the target include container, registers, virtual machines, Azure service, or any on-premises or cloud target. So we can define any target where we want to deploy our changes to that particular environment. So we can target to any server. And the next thing is what is the application types? So you can use Azure Pipeline with most of the applications such as Java, JavaScript, Node.js, Python, .NET. So there are so many languages or the application. With that we can use this Azure Pipeline. So this is basically, this Azure Pipeline is more flexible. So with the most of the application we can use it. So that is the use of the the target version of the deployment. And the next is deployment target. So to use Azure Pipeline to deploy your code to the multiple target include, we have already talked about, container, registry, virtual machine, Azure service. So there are so many target version where we can deploy our application, and where this Azure Pipeline supports. And then why should I use Azure Pipeline? So to use Azure Pipeline, because it support the following scenario, like work with any language or the platform. We have seen like it support many languages and the platform as well, and it deploy to the different type of the targets at the same time, and it integrate with Azure deployments, build on Windows, Linux and Mac machines, integrate with GitHub, work with open source project. So these are the so many things where Azure Pipeline is help us, and to make application like any type of the application, it help to make that application good and well, and it should available to so many users. So that's why this Azure Pipeline is very useful. Now how the process of the pipeline works. So suppose like we have seen as of now like how the process works into the Azure DevOps. So in the with the picture we can understand it more. Like suppose any user who push the code into the Azure repository, and what we can say to the branch, and once that branch the particular branch has the changes, then that branch is go into the build basically, and after the build here like it go for the release, and where we can deploy that particular release, we can do it for testing, acceptance and the production. So after all this process we can do like once the user push the changes or commit the changes into the branch, it will go to the build and release. Then from here, as per the requirement, what we can do, we can deploy it first for the testing phase, then acceptance and the production, where we want the environment where we can deploy the changes to the particular environment. So in this way basically this pipeline works. So that's it for this tutorial. If you have any question and doubt, please comment. Thank you.